Is it possible that this Ayuk thing affects Purdy's negotiation? Let me lay it out. Let's say the owners have told the front office, you guys have X amount of dollars to play with for football contracts this year. Last year it was 334 million. This year it's going to be less. We don't know what the number is. Right now they're sitting at 228 million dollars. Hold on. 228 million dollars, which is Jesus, fifth fewest in the league right now. So they have a dirt cheap roster for 2025. A lot of dead cap. I'm sure they've earmarked some more cash, some of it for Purdy. But if they have to give out all this money, it's not just $23 million for Ayuk. It's the option bonus on April 1st plus his salary this year. So it's 30 something million dollars. If they can't get out of that payment, which is freaking huge, would that make them more inclined to trade Purdy or less inclined to pay him what he wants because they just don't have the cash? They gave it to Brandon Aiyuk.
I think less inclined for sure to pay him, not to trade him, but I think like that's where like they will definitely like go into the sand, not even the cement. They'll go into the wet cement and then put their feet in there and just wait for it to dry. Like, yeah, we're not.
We don't got it.
Hell no.
You want $55 million a year? You want $100 million guaranteed? You want the signing bonus? We don't got it. Ask Brandon, man. He took it from us. It's Brandon's fault.
Like a thief in the night.
Yeah, ask Brandon for a loan, man. That's your guy.
And I think that's where, and imagine if they actually did tout that point, if you're Purdy in his camp, like how pissed you would be. It's like, what the hell's he got to do with me? I'm not the idiots who paid him that much. You guys did. You guys waited that long. And that's where it's like, look, man, it's like, you guys do not get that credit for doing all this stuff. Like, this is kind of like your fault. But this is why I think like, yeah, like when that direct deposit does hit into Ayuk's account and that cash is sent, it's like that. Yeah, that does probably for sure emphasize at least a little bit. Like, yeah, now we really can. We're not going to spend this much on you, and why spending them lucratively is not. It's like, look, again, you're coming off this down year. We're not too sure. We'll pay you this much though, because it's what this team has pretty much, I guess, not come out and said, but no, actually, John Lynch did kind of come out and say it. So yeah, they come out and say like, we're not spending. We're doling it down. So who's the player? Honestly, what about George Kittle? We could throw in George Kittle into this too about his extension. Because he's another one of all the players who needs extensions or fat deal this offseason. It's him. He deserves the bigger contract to me than Brock Purdy does. Like, I was just thinking about today, like, what are his numbers going to look like? He's going to look like 17, 18 mil a year, maybe like 50 guarantee, maybe not 50 guarantee. I don't know how the guarantees are with tight ends off the top of my head. But, like, that's another one you got to take to account for. You're going to have Kittle run the last year of his deal. Like, he's the one that really needs to get it done. So I think that's another one that just stacks on top of when, like, that deposit hits when you got to pay Ayuk, and it's going to make things a little weirder with Purdy.
Let's talk about that in a minute. Before we do, I want to look at Jared Goff's contract because I think there are some similarities between Goff and Purdy. I mean, Purdy's going to use the fact that he's been to a Super Bowl in his favor. Goff had been to a Super Bowl when he got his extension last year from the Lions. And what he ultimately signed was 4 years, $212. That's $53 million a year. Purdy could get the exact same deal. He could, according to Jordan Schultz. That's sort of where he is estimating this is gonna end up. The signing bonus for Jared Goff. This is a check that he got when he signed. $73 million. $73 million. So I don't do if the Yorks might not have that plus 23 for Brandon Aiyuk. You know what I mean? They might be like, ooh, sorry, we wanted to, but now we can't, and we really regret it. And boy, if we could go back in time, we wouldn't give that contract to Brandon, but we did. So, Brock, here's our offer now. And if you don't like it, you can always come back and play out your rookie deal, and we can talk next year. We'll have so much more cash next year, I swear.
It's actually funny because like that, the Goff, and even I think Jalen Hurts, if you look back, it's just above him too in terms of guarantee. But I think he might have. I think Jalen Hurts has more guarantee, but less annual per
signing
year.
Bonus. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. So to me, I feel like if you're signing Purdy to an actual past 3 year mark, I think he's gonna try to slide in between them, which is a little bit like but I'll be okay with that. Just as long as like the guarantees don't go past that, I think 171 rate and 173, and then you gotta try to figure out what the signing bonus is. I think what you just said. What if that's probably why like the Niners aren't are making an emphasis like we're going to reset our cash spending. We're not going to go too heavy because we're expecting to pay. We might have to. We're most likely going to have to pay Aiyuk barring a trade, and then we're going to have to give Brock Purdy a signing bonus. You know, that was the first thing when people said like, they're letting all these players go because they know they had to pay Purdy. Now they already had the salary cap space unlocked, but now I think after having a losing season, now it's like, now when we do got to give Purdy that signing bonus, now we got to like stack onto that, and we're not going to really try to fill anywhere else. We're going to try to fill the rest with the draft.
And what's scary too, I'm looking at Spot Track for these numbers. Goff guaranteed at signing, $113 million.
Yeah.
Hurts guaranteed at signing, $110 million. So that's essentially what Schultz thinks Purdy's going to get, and maybe Purdy expects to get more than $100 million guaranteed, and more than $50 million a year. I mean, I don't know, man. You could say, well, Hurts got it, so why not Brock? All I know is that when Brock went to the Super Bowl and faced the Chiefs, Steve Spagnuolo said, I'm not letting Christian McCaffrey beat me. You're going to have to beat me, Brock. And he threw 38 times. He had like 6.7 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, no picks, not a lot of points. He was okay. He couldn't beat him. When Hurts went to the Super Bowl and Spagnuolo said, I'm not letting this running game beat me. You got to beat me, Hurts. He balled out twice and won once. So I think that's why they're paying Hurts and why I'm still skeptical that the Niners should pay Brock and can win that way.
Yeah, if you're going to give him that long-term security deal for 4 or 5 years, you definitely cannot pay him more than Jalen Hurts. You just can't. That's why I like if you can sandwich him in between somewhere of the Goffs and the Hurts, like those, I think that's the perfect tier that he's at. Like right there, right around that top 10, 11 quarterback range. Like, okay, yeah, cool. Like that's fine.
Yeah,
I would feel comfortable with that. I would love that. I think that's the perfect deal for me because even like I think if you even slid it to your right, I think the total guarantee. Like again, I'm always stuck on the total guarantees. They're in the 170s, and I like that. I like the 170s guarantees. I don't want him anywhere around that 200 number. That makes my skin crawl. Like, oh no, do not give him anywhere close to that 200. Give him around that 170 range. That feels perfect where he's at. Maybe a little more given the down season. I think that's what you feel comfortable with.
David Baker says this is the worst soap opera. Plus, he's been a member for 34 months. Thank you, David. It's the best soap opera. I love it. BA is going to stay because Kyle needs a scapegoat, says official BNA Music 88. That's a good point.
How's he going to scapegoat Brandon Aiyuk?
I don't know, but he does need one.